Last specific correction I'm going to show you guys is the dodge and burn tool. If you've ever worked in the darkroom, those are familiar terms to you, but dodge and burn does come from working in the darkroom, in case you were wondering where those names came from. So here I've got, again, my background copy, my levels, and my color balance. I find it helpful to always go back and turn those off and on so you can see what your adjustments look like, and you can always double check yourself. And now to get really specific with our corrections to lighten or darken minute details, we're going to use the dodge and burn tool. The dodge and burn tool on its own is very clunky. The dodge tool, when used, will lighten a specific area, and the burn tool will darken it. Now, in order to make this tool more viable to use, we want to create a fill layer to use this tool on. So we're going to go to Layer, New Layer. And under Mode, we want to change this to Overlay. And then check Fill with 50% Gray. And that's going to create this layer here filled with gray. And that gray layer there is going to help to really smooth out this tool. If I don't do this, the tool, it's really noticeable that you used it. It's very clunky. It does not look very good. So we want to make sure that we do all of our dodging and burning on this layer. If you're really organized, you might call this the dodge layer or burn layer or both. But we want to make sure to use this tool when we have this layer selected. Okay. So to use this tool, we want to make sure our exposure is at 5%. The default is 50%, and that's way too much. It's not going to look good at all. We want to do a tiny bit at a time and then build upon that. So I'm going to have my midtones selected at 5. And let's go over to this corner. And let's say we want to bring out the detail. The tops of these trees are kind of getting lost in the shadow area. So I'm going to take my dodge tool, and I'm going to make sure I'm at 5%. And I'm just going to click and kind of start painting the tops of these back in. Now, it may not look like you've done a lot, but if you go back in your history, you'll notice a huge difference. It's almost way too much. So we're going to go back and start that again and just do a little bit of a time. And then always Command Z to see how far you've come. You can see there's a slight change. And then I can start to bring out all these details in the tree. So again, that's before and that's after. We're sort of seeing the top of that tree come out. And the same with the burn tool. If we want to darken some specific areas, we again want to use 5%. I'm going to select midtones. I don't really have any bright highlights in this photo because it's this overcast snowy day. And making sure that I'm clicked on this layer, and I want to darken this guy here. And then I can go over him and then Command Z to see how far I've come. And just do a little bit at a time. And there I've made this person quite a bit more noticeable than before. Now to do large adjustments, if I wanted to lighten or darken a large area, I'm not going to want to use the dodge and burn tool. I would want to use a layer mask, which we will get to next time. So dodge and burn are just for very minute, specific little details to bring out all the details in my image. So again, for your assignment, you want to have your series edited down to 10 images, and then you're going to want to do edits on all of your images, and then you'll be uploading all 10 of your images with layers to the class server, and there are directions on how to access the class server on Blackboard. So make sure you're saving with all your layers, so when you do File, Save As, we want to make sure that you can do a Photoshop file, or I recommend using a TIFF file as well, because it's a universal file format, not Targa, TIFF. So Kelsey and I, your TA, can go through your files and click your layers off and on and look at the adjustments that you made to your images. So it's really important you keep all your layers intact. So do a background copy, change your color space to Adobe 1998. Do a levels. If you've worked in Photoshop before, you can use curves. Do a color balancing layer, and then do a dodge and burn layer and make some specific corrections to bring out maximum detail in your images. Some of you might not need to do much color balancing. It's okay, you don't have to change the color balance if it doesn't need it, but make sure that you still have this color balance layer on your images so we can see that you know where it is and how to open it up. So we'll be checking all of these layers and then getting into more advanced editing later on.